Okay, hey guys, so I decided to do a video for my presentation because I just thought it would be easier that way. So I hope that's cool with you guys. For those of you who don't know, I decided to do my focus on books and the writing industry, and the person I decided to interview was my professor, Nathan Leslie, who is a creative writing teacher as well as an English teacher. He does the 211 classes, I think the 200 level classes, things like that. And so I'm just gonna get right into it. So I asked him, what did you major in, and where did you go to school at? So for his undergrad, he went to Mary Washington University, where he got a double major in English and in philosophy. And his reasoning for that was because he thought it would open up a lot of more opportunities for him. And then for his master's degree, he went to the University of Maryland, College Park, and where he went through the MFA program, which is the Master in Fine Arts program, for creative writing. So that's a little bit of his background information. So we're going to move on to, I asked him, what do you like versus, what are you well known for? And so when it comes to writing, he likes to write fiction, and he's also best known for his fiction as well. So I'm going to leave a link at the bottom of this video, and we're going to go through some of his books on his websites and things like that. So we'll get a little bit more into that a little bit later. I asked him, I was like, the sun is glaring, but oh well. I asked him, has writing always been a passion, or has it been more of a natural talent? And he kind of chuckled. He couldn't really define what a natural talent is, but I guess in his explanation it was a little bit of both, because he, a more practical side, he wrote for like the school newspapers, things like that. But like on a passionate side, he just always loved to write and things like that. So I asked him, I was like, okay, well, in your experience, what are some positives and some negatives that you deal with? And the positive thing about being a writer is you have the ultimate freedom to do whatever you want, and writing, for a lot of people, including when I write, it's an outlet. It's kind of your imagination. You put your soul into this, but with every, I guess, good thing, there's like a bad thing. They go hand in hand together. So some of the negative is in the writing. When you're writing, it's just very competitive. Unfortunately, there are a lot of writers that want to sell that New York Times bestseller, and unfortunately we live in a society where we don't support writers, because nobody's reading a lot as much as they used to back in the old days. So there's that disconnect between readers and writers, or maybe not readers, but people and writers, because people nowadays have different ways of entertaining themselves. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So I asked him, what kind of struggles do you face when you're writing? And he said for him, it's easy to create an idea and come up with a story. However, it's difficult for him to finish a story, because you're constantly editing it and just trying to make sure everything is perfect. And I've had that struggle too, where 2 years ago I started on a play, back when they used to do the I think the screen like playwrights at Nova. I was working on something, and 2 years has gone by and it's still not finished. And unfortunately Nova doesn't do that anymore, so I'm not sure if it's ever gonna get finished, but but I know I should finish it. So some other struggles are, you have to kind of become a self-promoter, and since everything is digitalized now, if you're not very, I guess, tech savvy, that can become a struggle for you. So, I asked about the writing industry, like your experience with it. And he's actually been on both sides of the fence where, he's an author and he was an editor. And he says, as a writer, it's hard to get published because, when he was editing, pieces, he would get, and this is with a small magazine publishing company, for a month, he would get 400 submissions and you're only accepting 2. And, that's less than 1%. So being a writer and trying to get yourself published is very difficult because of the competition. And I asked him, I was like, well, have you seen any changes from the writing industry? And a change that he's seen, which is kind of, as he puts it, unethical, is, back in the old days, or not old days, but older days, you print out your story, you pay the post office to send it, and that was it, Nowadays, since everything is digitalized, you submit it, but with that elimination of, making the trip down to the post office, companies are now charging you to submit your work, which, again, as he says, is kind of like an unethical way to get support. Sometimes with magazines, like $3, but if you want to get like a book published, to even just submit it, having even just to have it considered is like, $20. So just, things like that. I asked him, I was like, have you seen, do you think, in your own opinion, is the industry growing or is it declining? And he said, it's actually doing a little bit of both, because you have so many writers who, want to write, but we don't have a society that, supports it. Sometimes with, small publishing companies, it costs more to publish something than what it does to actually get that story. So it's doing a little bit of this, which is very interesting. And so I asked, I was like, okay, well, what kind of advice would you give someone who wants to go into this field? And he basically told me, you have to get a second job, because if you're focusing mainly on writing for your only income, then you're going to struggle, and it's going to become very stressful, and it shouldn't be stressful when you're writing. And he said that the Master in Fine Arts program is a good path for people to go down, but he understands that it's not for everybody. And so I guess this concludes, how I feel after everything. And, as being somebody who wants to go into this industry, I've kind of gotten a reality check where it's like, okay, like the likelihood of me, getting that bestseller is probably not going to happen, but, I'm still going to continue with my, major in mass communications, and, I'm going to see all the different avenues that is in that degree because it is so broad, and I'm just going to, grab the one that I'm best at and just go with it. So, like I said, this concludes my presentation. I know it's a little lengthy, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Alright, see ya.